break and come back so they can be here for this part of the show. I'm Ann Lai, I'm the Executive Director of SF-FILM. We're so honored and very thrilled to have the film, but not only the film, all of the key members of the film, including Mr. Guillermo del Toro. Before we have a conversation with the maestro and some of his key artistic collaborators, we are here to present the Sloan Science and Cinema Prize. I'm very delighted to reintroduce the Vice President and Program Director of the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, Doran Weber.
That was awesome, isn't it? I'm going to just read out the citation, and it's a little long, and then Guillermo will hopefully come out to receive his prize. For its bold, visionary, and powerful reinvention of Mary Shelley's classic 19th century tale about an obsessive scientist who dares to create new life, heedless of its consequences, prefiguring modern scientific challenges in synthetic biology, genome editing, neurotechnology, AI, and more, and for its stunning visual effects and design, sound, and superb acting to tell an ultimately very personal and moving story of wayward fathers, abandoned sons, and personal responsibility. The 2025 Sloan Science and Cinema Prize at SF-FILM goes to Guillermo del Toro's magisterial Frankenstein.
Thank you. I want to say this is my second science award. The first one I won with a bicarbonate volcano in school. But this seems a little more important, so thank you very much for this. And you know, the beauty of a novel that was written 200 years ago is that if it's written with passion, it was written by a teenager full of questions, but that is open to interpretation with every year, every decade, every century that has passed since then. And I think one of the great misinterpretations, or one of the easiest mistakes for me, is that the people think it's anti-science. Oh, that's my pizza? No, that's not me. But it is not anti-science. It actually is the first novel of fiction that deals with the supernatural in a scientific way, you know, and it actually doesn't question the value of science, but questions the lack of interrogating the material. Is that me? Oh. Somebody wants a prize back. No, it's, you know, and this is a bad invention. You know, the beauty of the material is that it asks us to ask the questions before the deed. Because the thing that intersects between art and science is curiosity and the desire to understand a mystery, or to at least grab the mystery and grasp it. But the great difference is art comes from doubt, and oftentimes science comes from the same place, but not the industries that promote science, that finance science. I think one of the points I wanted to make with the character of Harlander in the film is that sometimes the financiers may have ulterior motives. And I do believe that it is our duty right now. We are in the threshold of transhumanism in many ways, in a moment where we are processing what we are told is information, but is in reality emotion. And if it comes so fast and so furiously, we cannot possibly assimilate it without going a little bit insane. But the scientific quest, the desire for it, belongs to all of us. You know, it's not just for transnational, gigantic corporations to tell us what to seek for. And that quest is as much the duty of an artist as it is that of a scientist. So I thank you for this, because it celebrates curiosity, in my view. Curiosity with ethics. Curiosity with the desire to illuminate or heal or guide a little bit more of the human spirit towards something larger than, not lesser than. Science should be there for the same reason that art is there, to make us more human and to understand that our place in the universe may be more significant, but it is small. So thank you for this, and I thank you for enjoying the movie tonight, and we'll sit and talk a little bit after this. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask, Guillermo, do you want to hang on to the prize? Would you like me to put it down? What do you think? You want to use it as a weapon? Okay, perfect. I'm going to invite the rest of, this is my worry as I'm sitting next to him. So I would love to invite the rest of our panelists. I'm going to just call them up so that we can begin our conversation. So Guy Davis, the head of concept design. Dr. Jennifer Doudna, our science experts. Dennis Berardi, the visual effects supervisor. Evan Schiff, the editor. And Nathan Robitaille, sound designer, supervising sound editor. There are so many of you. This is incredibly exciting. I kind of want to start a little bit from what you were just talking about, Guillermo. The film is I think, such an ode and almost an opera to appreciation of curiosity and exploration, and certainly hubris and all of the complicated emotions that we have as humans. I wanted to kind of head over to Dr. Doudna and ask, you are a Nobel Prize winning scientist, based here at Cal, so for all of us locals, very exciting. And you received your Nobel Prize in chemistry for co-developing the CRISPR gene technology. And so as you watch this film, it made me think about when did you first realize with CRISPR that it could be used to edit humans and potentially change the future of our species? What did that feel like when you realized that?
Well, first of all, it's a real thrill to be here and wonderful to be with all of you artists. I love the film. And it did make me think a lot about the process of discovery, and in my own case, the steps by which one comes to the realization that the work you're doing has profound implications, maybe way beyond what one imagined in the beginning. And I actually think there's an interesting parallel to the Frankenstein story. And so in our case, the work was done through curiosity-driven science that was investigating how bacteria fight viral infection, and that led to an understanding of that process, and as part of that, realizing that it could be used as a very powerful technology. And then it was only later that it became clear that it could also be used to rewrite the code that makes us who we are, which it really does bring up a lot of very interesting and very profound implications.
It makes me think about with Victor. I was curious how you approached him as a character. Where do you feel like his goal, driving him to create the creature or to create life, was his end goal, as opposed to what happened to that life after he created it?
Well, I think that there's a difference between science and knowledge and wisdom. You know, and Victor may have science, may have knowledge, but has no wisdom. You know, I think that there is certain cycles that you need to understand are only healing through acceptance. I mean, it's not about accepting a condition that suffocates you, but one that actually dictates what it is to be human, which in this instance is death. You know, and I think Victor is interesting not because he wants to because he becomes a tyrant in a way, in the same way that most tyrants happen to become what they are, which is because they believe themselves to be victims. And I think the scientific pursuit is above that. So when you pursue it in an altruistic manner, in a manner that asks the questions and is conducive, that's one thing. When you do it out of basically a cosmic-sized tantrum with your own tragedy, what happens is then I think the most interesting part of science is not the certainty, but the doubt. And Victor has very little doubts and a lot of certainty. So as a character, it's very tragic. It's a character that you can see is stunted, and speaking purely in dramatical terms, he's stunted as a child, and then he recreates that child only so he can destroy it, which is basically what happens in a lot of Latin families and other and Anglo-Saxon families and Teutonic families. I mean, the pain is passed like that. So the interest for me, the interesting thing, as it was, I believe, to Mary Shelley, is not the scientific aspect as much as the philosophical.
There's so many philosophical and existential questions, I think, that come up as part of this film. I'm going to kind of roll us back a little bit. I think that I'm curious for you. I think as humans, we're comforted sometimes by repetition, reading the same book over and over again, watching the same movie over and over again. And I think the Frankenstein movies from James Whale, were those your place of comfort to be able to visit?
They were. I mean, my church was made of monsters, and I would go every Sunday. There was a program in Channel 6 that showed mostly monster movies. So we would go to church
on the Day of God.
Yes. We would go to church early and see monsters all day. Now that happens on Fox News mostly. It's a different type of monsters. But I think that the beautiful thing about monsters at an early age for me, they started to represent the beauty of imperfection. I think that there are few concepts that are more destructive for mankind than romantic love, wealth, and perfection. Because those three things create basically a spiritual pornography that makes you perpetually unhappy with your circumstance. And monsters tell you, no, it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to wear your flaws and your fragility on your sleeve. It's okay to not conform. It's okay to not belong. And there's a lot of us. And I felt very welcome in that church of monsters.
Well, and I think this is the idea, yes, that's worth applause. Because I think that you, in thinking about your entire body of work, that there's such affection and love for the creature. And the creature is other. But actually, I would say probably for all of us, we have all felt othered. I don't know that there's any, but well, maybe there's some people who feel they're centered. But for the most part, I think everybody has moments where they're on the outside and looking in. And so identifying with the creature makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I would like to believe that I would like to behold and witness the banquet of assholes from outside the house, looking in and going, I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. I don't want to partake. I don't want to be part of that group. I think whoever others is the true monster. It's not the other that should be shunned. It's the notion that, there's only us. There's only us. I mean, the world is created to withstand the best and the worst, and it's only naming things that make them different in a terrible way that you can blame, that makes the world uninhabitable. They want you to look to the side because they don't want you to look up and see those motherfuckers doing everything that is destructive. So the monster tells you, no, it's good.
Very true. I want to think a little bit about design and concept and execution. This film is, I'm so happy you all saw this on the big screen.
Yes, thank you.
So
Thank
wonderful.
you. And if you like it on the big screen, it's still on the big screen in many, many theaters, and it's going to stay on the big screen for many weeks to come, so tell everyone.
Very important. The thing that I love about Netflix is I'm a person who loves repetition.
Oh, yeah.
When I love something, I go back and I visit it over and over again. So
By
that's
all means, do.
But so, in thinking, the scope and the grandeur of this film is enormous. The soundscape, the visual, the visual texture, and the richness of it. Guy, we were talking about. I love your title. You're the head of design concept, and that encompasses many things. But can you talk a little bit to how you and Guillermo work together? Sort of what that process is, and how early that starts.
Yeah, I mean, it starts like at the very start before any other departments are really on. It's like at the very beginning where we just have like a blank piece of paper and we talk about designs that Guillermo has in mind. And Guillermo's a wonderful artist, and I have more Guillermo original scribbles on papers that I have saved since Pacific Rim. So it's a bit of a shorthand.
And is there, at that point, Guillermo, do you have a full draft that you're both referencing, or yeah?
Yeah, there is. I mean, and it's important to codify the language of shape, color, texture, so that the movie has a language of its own to communicate emotion. I mean, emotion on film comes from an audiovisual experience. You know, so we are not creating eye candy, we're creating eye protein. We are telling you a story that only comes through cinema, so we codify everything very carefully. We create the DNA that then is shared with all the departments, and then everybody works as a unit. There is not separation from departments. They are all trying to achieve the same goal. We could go into detail of that, but then for example, one thing that is easy to read for an audience is the language of color. Everybody will notice that the red of the mother carries through the film, and that's the quest of Victor for immortality. That is not something that you need to explain, but the grandeur of the movie, I knew that this was going to be done by hand, by humans for humans. We were going to create the real sets, weave the fabrics, have a scale that is not common, build a real ship, full scale, put it on motors. Every shot you see of the ship is the real ship.
Wow.
So, you know, every building you see was built. The explosions were done with miniatures rather than just digital, and even the way the effects are integrated is different than normal.
So how in that process and thinking about the integration of visual effects, and Dennis, we were talking a little bit about this, you are on set, you are there, you are part of the team very early on, and in fact, this feels like it's your core team that starts very early with you. And so what is that dialogue like? And are they referencing, Guy, if you're trying to create all the set pieces or all of the design work visually, is that what everyone is bouncing off of and understanding as their Bible?
In a way, and Guillermo has in mind, like if we're designing like the lab or the exterior, you know, he has an idea of what would be needed to be enhanced by Dennis. So from the very start, it's incorporated.
They're in pre-production.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like.
Sorry, I should also say Dennis was you're the supervising you're the visual effects producer or supervisor.
Yeah.
Both.
Thank you. Yes, both.
Yeah, no, I'm there right in. My entry into the film is Guillermo's screenplay and images from Guy. Guillermo then communicates the vision across all departments, and as he says, there's a lot of overlap, and it is a real team. And like, for example, if you take, and the idea, his mandate was handcrafted visual effects, handcrafted everything, and so we took that to heart. There's no AI, no generative AI in this movie, which we're really proud of. And if you look at a sequence like the creation sequence, for example, it's an opera of the most beautiful set I've ever walked on. Dan Lauschen's photography, which was amazing. Obviously Guillermo's screenplay and the performances that he directed, the actors, and visual effects. And I hope that you don't see the visual effects because we're not going to tell you all of our secrets. Our hope is that you feel the emotion, you don't see the CG. And it was all about handcrafting the visuals like Guillermo and Guy handcrafted, the design, the sets, and everything, you know.
And actually, just even speaking about that creation, to me, was perhaps the most joyful part of the film. It's like there's a symphony, the score is beautiful. I was thinking a lot about, Nathan, for you with sound, in the soundscape of it, there are wonderful squishy body, blood, ligament sort of sounds, along with this beautiful score, as well as a lot of mechanical work that's sort of happening in there. So I'm curious for you in terms of how you are trying to think. We sometimes talk about loud movies being a wall of sound, and it cannot be a wall of sound. So what is the shape that you are trying to achieve? And that sequence lasts for quite a long time. Can you speak a little bit to your process or what the dialogue is with Guillermo in terms of what it is you are trying to make sure feels real, but honestly, what is real in this particular world?
Well, I think what's real is everything. I mean, the sound to me is the truth. Everybody has experiences in their lives. We experience things. We know the sounds. If I talk about dropping a rock into a puddle on a sidewalk, we all just heard something in our minds. And if I choose appropriate textures for the screen, I get to draw from people's memories, and they start investing their life experience into what they're seeing on screen. And that level of investment is what I'm after as a sound designer, because the second they've invested like that, Guillermo's got them, and we can stand back and just let these guys cook, because nobody's questioning it. It's a bit of a pre-approval. It's you show up. They say that like the best lies are threaded with the truth, and if that sound is the truth, if I'm borrowing from the audience's memories from their own lives, then we're just sort of helping to give them a component of what they need to give themselves permission to let go of their scrutiny, suspend disbelief, and just sort of fall backwards into Guillermo's world.
Right, like the idea that there's a common dictionary for all of us in
Yeah.
terms of certain sounds.
And there is a saying I love, which is, I say silence on film is 10 tracks. There's not such a thing. Absence is very rarely used. It's very effectively used when it does, but we craft hundreds and hundreds of tracks over the period of weeks, if not months, know them intimately, and then we make it so that you are surrounded by them, you're immersed by them, but hopefully you don't notice. But we do it. We mix 360, so the whole theater is our fishbowl where you're swimming.
We've got you surrounded.
And it feels that way, right? You're very enveloped in it. This gets me to a question around, Evan, we were talking about an editing process, and this was new to me, which is you don't sleep.
Very little.
You sleep very little, and that you actually will want to work on assembling your dailies or your footage from, let's say, today, and tomorrow morning you're going to go very early in the edit room, and you want to have that edited together before you start shooting the next day.
Correct.
This is not normal. I'm just going to say that I've never heard that. So
I'm Mexican. No, we do it. I started doing it in 1997 because I was doing a movie called Mimic for the Weinsteins, and they were gonna fire me. So I said, okay, if they fire me, I'll cut every day.
you felt they were going to fire you during the production?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And now they're in jail. I'm not.
Yes, there we go.
So that's good. So I wonder who won. But I started it then, and then the discipline kicked in, and I edit every day with Evan. Evan arrives 4 hours before call.
Wait, what time? So typically, Evan, what time is that for you?
Depending on call, but towards the end of the shoot for the last 6 weeks that we were in Scotland, I was at the edit trailer no later than 4 a.m.
Okay, so
And I was there at 6. Come on. Give me a little love.
I mean, when we first started, the second film that I did with Guillermo, which was Hellboy 2, he still came in every day, but he came in at the end of the day, so at least we had the day to cut things together. This was a change between then and now to do it before we even started the next shoot day. But the dividends are vast.
But talk about that. Like, what is it? What is it that sort of fuels you? Why aside from not getting fired on Mimic, but finding this discipline, right? Like this actually works well for you.
No. It works fantastic because I first the day is done, and I go to home and write. I don't go to sleep. I go write.
You're rewriting.
I'm rewriting, and then the next day I'm cutting, and then I know if I have something very clear, I say, well, maybe we don't need that scene or this scene. So it helps. And I'm producing with the Miles, so we say we don't need that day, but I need an extra day. So you're managing, And there's a
You're sort of
precision-
adjusting and discovering things along the
discovering
way.
things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of film talks back to you. You know, people think that you arrive and lay in a chaise lounge and say, "Oh, move over there." You work really hard, and this helps. Also, it helps everybody. I come to the set and I show everybody what we did the day before.
And it doesn't. Do you show your actors as well?
Oh yeah, some of them go insane.
Yeah, I know.
Some of them you learn very fast. You shoot and show.
Some of them don't want to have that.
No. Some of them do. But also, at the end of the day, I say to the entire crew, if anyone wants to come over to the editing room tomorrow, come in. And anyone can come to the editing room and see us cut it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's,
That one person who
that's my
really
crew.
likes that.
Yeah, but go ahead, Evan.
No, I was just gonna say that in terms of the cast, sometimes the actors would come in to those early morning sessions in order to get a sense of what we had done the day before to see not only did they like their own performance, but to get the context for whatever they're shooting in the days ahead of what we had assembled so far. So it's like really, it's a very useful tool for everybody to see what the movie is shaping up being as we're making it.
I would maybe also interpret that it's very generous, right? You're not trying to shield information from people. And I think there are times when I do see that happen, which is like this fear that like, don't look, I'm still working on it. I want to wait until later to show it to you. But instead you are sort of inverting that and sharing it very widely.
There are directors that are guests and directors that are hosts. I'm a host. I like to make it fun and a banquet for everyone. And hopefully at the end of the process, everybody will say, "Did you see my movie?" You know, whatever department you are, they say, "I come and see my movie."
So it's a sense of ownership, really. Everyone gets to be part of it.
And
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, I believe that the most damage we do in the world is to separate ourselves from other people. And I believe that you're special, you know? Everybody knows that they can participate, and then I tell them not to. Then I go, no, it's fine. But it's not me talking, it's the movie. And this, I mean, you are attuned to a certain song in your lifetime, and you hear it. That's the only difference. It's not me dictating, it's the movie talking. Because the movie wants to be understood.
You feel like you're sort of channeling to get to that film.
But not in an ayahuasca way.
Right.
Just like, you know, after doing it 30 years, you know, it's like when they ask a composer, how long did it take you to write that song? And he says, 10 minutes to write it, a lifetime to understand it, right?
Correct.
It's the same with film. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 15 and 61, and I've been professional since I was 26. So, you know, it's a lot of time.
Right.
And you understand when the movie's talking and when it's your ego. And I tell everyone, be careful with the great ideas because they're mostly shit. Come with an idea that comes with a plot point, a story, or a dramatic point. Don't come in with a great idea on its own. And the same is for me and the movie.
Do you feel that the more experience that you have, the more films that you make, the better you get at it, or the idea that the older you get, the less you know?
No, I think both. I mean, it's a combination of both. What you do, look, any artist is a specialist idiot.
Is a specialist idiot? Okay.
Yeah, I'm useless in 90. I cannot program a fucking air conditioner. I can't. I live in absolute fear of air conditioner. But I'm useless in most social things. But I'm good at one thing that, fortunately, A, is legal, and B, is well appreciated. But if it wasn't, you know, I would be completely useless.
It's an incredibly specialized skill, though. I will say that, right? Like it is an unusual thing. You are a general overseeing hundreds and hundreds of people, trying to point everyone in the same direction to try to achieve something that is in your head.
It is. It's like painting through 150 hands.
Exactly. Yeah. It is such an unusual art form. Yeah. This brings me to Dr. Doudna. See, you know, Guillermo was talking about this idea that as you're shooting and you're editing at the same time, you're exploring and you're tweaking and you're playing, and you're trying to find it. You'll know it when you see it. Is that a fair way to think about how you go about your work and your research and your exploration?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of parallels in your process and ours as scientists. where you said a lot of great ideas turn out to be shit, and that's true in our work as well. I think that often the small idea that you don't really know where it's going turns out to be unexpectedly very exciting, and that's been certainly my personal experience. And I also think that it's an ongoing process, and I also loved what you said about your team, because I view science very much that way as well. I think that great work and great discoveries are really made as part of a process, and that it really does involve multiple people that are contributing, multiple ideas that come together, and again, that's really reflective of what I've experienced in my work.
But you said something that intrigued me, because I feel the same way. You said you were looking for something else, and then you discovered a thread that said, well, what if we go this way? And the same is true when you shoot. The older you get, the more you listen to the movie. I can give you examples. One of them, very simple, is the two eyes of the creature. Originally, we had ordered a large scleral lens, so his eyes were both larger than normal. The day we tried them, one of them didn't go in. He felt irritated, and they said, well, we'll put it CG today, and tomorrow we'll try again. And I said, no, let him have two sizes. One eye is bigger than the other, and the bigger eye kicks back the light, like an animal eye. And from that and then on, we used it dramatically. But we were not looking for it. But I think that discovery is awareness, don't you think?
Oh, very much.
Rather than wisdom.
I fully agree with that, yeah.
That is going in an intentional direction, but you have to stop and see it, or you have to stop and listen to it to see what it's
I
saying to
think
you.
everything we need to know is already here. And we just need to look at it much more carefully. That's why I say a virtue is a defect that hasn't been looked at carefully, or a vice.
So I think I'm getting the signal that we do have to
Who the
wrap
fuck
it.
is doing that?
But I do.
Bring them to me.
I do have a question, because I think a lot about, going back to the idea of something that's soothing and repetition, the thing that sort of sparks your imagination. You obviously have a great imagination. I'm curious, I'm going to go back to Dr. Doudna, which is you, I think, had a relationship with the book, with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein at some point, perhaps in your childhood or when you were younger.
High school, read it in
High school, yes. Do we have any high school students in the audience? We do. I know we do, because it's AP reading as well. But I'm curious for you, as someone who pursued a very, very specific profession, was there anything, whether it was a book, a movie, a show, a play, a piece of art, that started having you or started kickstarting you into thinking about pursuing science?
Well, I did read some science fiction when I was growing up, mostly classical, science fiction, Asimov, H.G. Wells, those writers. I found it interesting, but honestly too fantastical to me. It didn't seem real.
This was your brain starting to work around like that's not possible to do.
Right, and so my initial reaction, I would say I wasn't really a fan of science fiction, growing up, to be honest. I only, the moment I've told my husband this, he's here tonight, Jamie Kate, told him this, that for me the moment that changed for me was when Star Wars came out. And I still remember, sitting in the theater and the ship coming over. You guys remember that? I mean, it was just so exciting and so exciting. And it suddenly kind of changed things for me in terms of thinking about how stories like that, and like so many, like yours, can be inspiring. They can be exciting. They can excite your mind to start thinking about things that maybe aren't possible now, but might be in the future. And I think for me, that was really that moment when a story made, for me, the connection to kind of, the real world science that I might want to do someday.
But the beautiful thing of what you said is when that ship goes overhead, you hear the low rumble
Yes.
of that ship, which is scientifically wrong, because there is no sound in space, which leads me to this. The way some people review movies now is that stupid. Oh, there would be no sound in space. So that's what's wrong. And it's eloquence that makes things stick and make them lyrical and make them emotional. And I'm very glad that in an inaccurate science state made you excited about science again. That's a very good moment.
It does. I think the thing, and I often will talk to people about, I tend to want to experience movies here, like in my stomach, in my heart. Exactly. The same thing.
A lot of experience.
But it is that idea, the wonderful thing, about film, but the wonderful thing about art is, yes, you are processing through your brain, but when you feel it here is when you open up. It's when you begin to learn. It's when you begin to have empathy. It's when you begin to have all of those things. I have a last round robin question for your wonderful colleagues. I sort of have this interpretation of you, Guillermo, that you have this infectious energy.
Infectious. Right?
Infectious. I did hear the word impatient from one of your fellow.
Bring him to me.
And so I'm curious, like as you have all worked on multiple films with Guillermo.
One is about to not work anymore.
With the infectiousness, with that energy, with the person who doesn't sleep, what is the thing that sort of is the thing that excites you most, I guess, in terms of what you are focused on and working with Guillermo?
We're starting with me?
We're going to start with you, Nathan. Go.
It's a little bit like falling off a horse. You got to go limp, because if you brace for the landing, you're going to break something. And it's really exciting to show up every day and not know what's going to be different, what's going to be changed. You know what I mean? And if you're able to attack one of these jobs without the rigidity that would make something break, rigidity about a schedule, rigidity about a plan of attack, rigidity about some sound design I'm feeling precious about today, if I can let go of that rigidity and just sort of be loose, then when I get to the ground, I roll out of it. We all have a good laugh. I get back on the horse, and we're back on the trail.
So relax around Guillermo. Okay, Evan, quick.
I mean, for me, coming in every day and having, like, knowing that that good is not good enough on this movie. We are striving for great, and sometimes, you get into an editing job, and the people that you're working with don't care to the level that Guillermo cares. And so it's really exhilarating to come into work. You get amazing footage, amazing performances, a story that has had so much care and thought and attention put behind it, and then it's up to you to make it great to a way that satisfies what's in his head. It is both a very daunting challenge, but also a very exciting moment to just sit there with his footage and have that in front of you.
Dennis.
I didn't say impatient, by the way. It was someone else.
It might have been me.
Just point at the person.
But for me, it's about the emotion of the journey. I mean, Guillermo he's a really generous sort of, teacher and mentor and partner, and he kind of brings you along on this journey. And the films are very emotional. Also, I love the process, the tech of it. I love when we're fussing over miniatures and trying to get a model correct or looking at a composite, and he's very hands-on with the process as well. So for me, it's like really left brain, right brain. I get like an emotional journey, and I get a lot of sort of science and process, and that's my jam. I really enjoy it. Guillermo plugs into that, lets me plug into his world that way, and so we will go down rabbit holes with subsurface scattering or a fluid simulation or how many particles we have in this cloud system or whatever it is, and we do the details, and I just love that.
Love it. Guy.
And no, I mean, every project we've done together, it's been inspiring, and he's also encouraging. He's encouraging you to do your best, to try different things, to think outside the box, and I think that inspires us the same way to our teams and our departments, even working together. It's not about, people not working together. We try to encourage each other in every way.
There, to use maybe the analogy of creating the creature, making a movie is creating a creature. Right? It's trying to bring all of these disparate parts and to make it feel cohesive and to make it sing. So Guillermo, thank you for doing it with every single film and every single story that you bring to screen.
Thank you very much. And in fact, I go on the record and say, I am impatient.
It's very official. Please
Thank you.
help me in thanking everyone.
Thank you.